Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to the Pistons Performance Center, where we're here to introduce Monty Williams as the 37th coach in the Detroit Pistons history. I'm Mark Barnhill. I'm Tom Gores' business partner and member of his ownership team, also an alternate governor in the NBA infrastructure. Want to make a couple of quick kind of housekeeping introductions before we get started. First of all, recognize a number of people in the audience. Holly Gores and members of the Gores family, welcome. Micah Williams, Monty's son, welcome. We're happy to have you here. Welcome to Detroit. And Spencer Breaker, Monty's agent, is here as well. Happy to have you here, Spencer. Arn Tellem, Pistons vice chairman, also member of the ownership team and alternate governor, and his wife Nancy, welcome. Good to see you guys. George David and other members of the basketball operations staff. George is here in the front. I think the basketball ops staff is over there, including Dwayne Casey. Welcome, everybody. The business operations staff is here as well. Our Pistons players, who just a couple of hours ago were on the court next to us practicing with some new members of Monty's team. Glad to have all you here and look forward to next steps with you guys. And then on the dais, to my left here, Tom Gores, Pistons owner, Troy Weaver, Pistons general manager, and Monty Williams, the 37th head coach of the Detroit Pistons. With that, we're gonna open this up pretty quickly to questions from the news media who are assembled in the back, and we'll take your questions. But first, I wanted to give Tom and Troy and Monty a chance to offer some brief remarks on what is this historic day for us. Tom, you wanna start?
Sure. First of all, welcome. Exciting day, and nice to see you guys in the front there. Getting Monty has come at a very important time. And, the one thing that I always think about when great things happen is who to thank for it. And, Troy, I know you hate this stage, but you cleaned up the roster. You did, I think, everything important. You got a lot of hard times sometimes and so on, but you really did all the tough things these last few years in cleaning up the roster. And Monty, you recognized this roster, our players over there. Way to hang in there. I think it's an important time, and you guys hung in there, great attitudes, and that's to a man, everybody. Monty, obviously, thank you for believing, appreciate it, and you guys will get a chance to ask Monty a lot of questions. And Dwayne Casey, you're here somewhere. I want to thank you for passing the baton, and I know it wasn't exactly how you wanted it to go, but you left this team with respect and truth and love, and we can't take the baton without that. And we went through a lot of hard times with each other, so appreciate that. And then to me, the MVP of all this and being able to get Monty is his family. He has 6 kids, his wife Lisa, and maybe he got outvoted. I'm not sure. He came out of retirement, and everybody else wanted him, but I think we're lucky enough to have him. So we just go into the Q&A and go from there.
Okay, let me ask Troy, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just to piggyback off Tom, we're excited about today, but Monty arriving here is huge because of the work that's been put in from this entire organization. From the business side to the basketball side, the belief people have in us restoring the Pistons. The staff has been tremendous with Coach Casey and his staff, and the players have done is the reason Monty's here. He believes in what we're doing going forward. And think about this. We did not have the best record in the league, actually the worst. And teams with the best records in the league was after this guy. And he wanted to partner with us and lead the charge because of the work that you guys put in to a man, to a woman in this building. And we're going to continue to stand on that and continue to do things the right way now that we have a new coach, a new leader. But it's a testament to you guys. And Monty, I'm sure will touch on it, but when we talked, and Coach Casey and I used to talk about this all the time, put our locker room up against anybody, any other team in the league, believe in these young men over here and what they're about and the right things. And we're here now and we're excited for this next step. So I'm just grateful for Tom and the ownership of providing the resources and the support that we need to continue to march forward.
Okay, thanks, Troy. Coach, A, welcome. B, before we throw it open to the reporters, do you have any kind of brief remarks you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'm just thankful. God has blessed me with these opportunities to not only play in the NBA, but to coach. And I'm grateful for the trust that Troy had in me, not just for this job, but for a while. It's been a great friendship, partnership, going back to OKC, and to be here with him now is a true blessing. And Mr. Gores, your generosity, it's changed my life at the right time, and been a huge blessing to my family. We've had a lot of things going on, and the patience that you all extended to us has made the difference. It has allowed for us to be here in this position, to have my baby boy here today. You can smile. One of my best friends as my agent, and Spencer, and everybody that's put the work in here and laid the foundation for me to partner in this. I just want to say thank you. But to these men over here, to have the whole team here outside of Boyan is amazing. It messed me up this morning in the meeting when I found out all you guys were here. You'll find out that I get emotional sometimes over good stuff like that. And I'm so grateful to all of you guys for being here. And I'm grateful to have dogs like you in the fight with me. And I hope you understand that. And so I could go on and on with the gratitude that I have in my heart for this opportunity to be in this position. Across the board, everybody here has not just embraced me, but made me feel like I've been here for a while. And I thank you for that. And so this is a true blessing for me and my family, and we will make you proud.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Coach. Okay, let's shift to the press now. Just for you guys' benefit, the reporters we're going to be calling on are clustered in the middle here, so you don't have to look and find them. For you all, I think we have microphones to either side. I was going to open this up to the beat writers by seniority, but I see there's a beat writer emeritus here, so I'm going to give the first question to him. Rod Beard, what do you have to ask? Rod Beard, Detroit News.
Welcome, Monty. Thank you, Mark. This is for Tom. Just how important was it for you to be able to try to provide the best coach that you could with everything else that's in place, the training facility, everything, but to try to make sure that you brought in the right coach at the right time?
Yeah, it was critical, and it's a really important time. And I think, what I kept thinking about, and I mentioned to Troy, and Troy and I sat for 5 days before we met Monty. He was at my house, and, it was also about these players over here. Literally have trusted us, and, were holding their own practices, and they have their own fortitude, and they really were able to stay together. And there was a moment, Troy and I, when we were together, I said, those young men are relying on us. And we had I wouldn't call it a yelling match at all. It's just that we talked about how important it was to deliver to our players. And So it's a critical time. I mean, obviously we have great young players. Their character is great. I feel like they're very poised. They don't necessarily act their age, much more than what you would think. So it was critical because we felt the responsibility to deliver. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through, I would say, pain and so on, but like any good thing, you have to go through some pain. So it was critical, and I understand that we took a long time, so I heard all the stuff and this and that, and Troy and I are not making decisions, or Troy and I are not agreeing, but we kind of agreed most of the time. But it was critical that we did it, and we've spent a lot of time, getting this roster together and these young folks. So we couldn't quite make it as simple as everybody wanted.
Okay, let's work through the rest of the beat writers. James, you're next.
James Edwards, The Athletic. Monty, welcome to Detroit. Obviously, recently you took an organization that was starting to find its foot, took them to the pinnacle of this sport. As you've learned about these group of guys and kind of the plan of Tom and Arn and Troy, do you see similarities between this group and that early Phoenix team, whether it's roster or what you can come up with as you guys start to take off?
Yeah, I mean, there's similarities for sure. The young talent that hasn't had the experiences yet that it needs to progress. Coach Casey's done an unreal job of navigating a lot of that, and for me to be able to come into it now is a part of this restoration. Similarities, yeah, for sure. I could name names, but I think that boxes guys, and when I look at the talent that we have, I'm careful not to compare in placing names on guys, because I don't want them thinking they have to be this particular guy. I want them to be the best version of themselves in a unique way. But yeah, when I got to Phoenix, there were some things that were similar, but I'm not trying to redo that. That was there, this is now, and we have a chance to restore. And that was something that Troy kept saying that piqued my interest when he said restore. It was never rebuild. And I think it was something that he learned from his dad. When something has been great, you can restore it back to greatness. And that, to me, was more or part of the selling point, as opposed to trying to redo what we did in Phoenix.
Monty, my name is 𝗙𝗖𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 for the second, Pistons beat writer for the Free Press. Nice to meet you and welcome to Detroit.
Thank you.
Just for you, what was the process to get to this point? Obviously it's been a busy month. Kind of what went through your head when the Pistons first reached out, and what kind of brought you to here now where you felt that this was an opportunity that you couldn't pass on?
I mean, it's too much to even talk about today. Troy reached out to me right away after Phoenix, and for me, you marry yourself to the job, and so there were many emotions that I was going through, and then to get that call from Troy kind of gave me a bit of confidence, because you weren't feeling that great about getting fired. And but I had a situation personally in my family that needed attention, and I talked to my wife today about whether or not we should talk about that publicly, but that was a huge part of my decision making, and the patience that Troy and Mr. Gores had with me and with us as we navigated that told me a lot. My wife found out that she had breast cancer during the playoffs, and the reason that I bring it up is to not talk about my family, but to make it more of an emphasis that women need early detection testing. We had genetic testing done, and then scan after scan after scan, and then we found it early, and that may have saved my wife's life, and it can save others. And so as we navigated all of that, and talking to Troy and telling him, man, I couldn't, right now, because I got to take care of my family. And then we got great news that we would find out about her situation a lot earlier than we thought we would. And out of the blue, I got a text from Troy after they had their powwow about me, which I thought was totally off the table. I was with my kid at a tryout. So just all of that was on my plate, you know, losing a job, family situation, and then being dad, traveling with my kids and doing a few things. And then out of the blue, I get the text from Troy, and then it just went quickly after that.
Hey, Monty. Mike Curtis, the Detroit News, Pistons beat writer. Congrats and welcome to Detroit.
Thank you.
You mentioned, well, you have a history of developing players and developing teams, specifically lottery teams and the championship contenders. When you look at your guys over there, what is it about this group that kind of stands out to you, and how far do you think this group can go ultimately?
Well, first, you know, I get a lot of credit for that, but these partnerships that all of us as head coaches understand, we can't do anything without an assistant coaching staff, a medical staff, a management staff that all buys in. You know, that's the way it works. You got to have ownership, you have to have support staff, all of that has to be on the same page. That's in place here. You look at the talent on this team, you look at the vets on this team, you look at the trials that they've been through the last few years. It doesn't just give you hope, it gives you excitement. Troy said to me, and he just talked about it, he would put that locker room up against any locker room in the league, and that intrigued me. He said that right from the jump, and that was in the back of my mind even when I told him I couldn't do it at the time. But then I was talking to my mentor, Pastor Bill, and you know, when I got the job, he said, you know, you think you're going to be what they need, and he said, I think this is what you need. And that really impacted me about these guys. He was making the point that after looking at the roster and looking at the talent and doing some background work on like every guy over there, because he's just that dude, he said, these guys are going to be good for you. And that was a huge blessing to me to hear that, because it's always the other way around. You know, a coach is supposed to come in and change everything. I'm looking forward to how they're going to impact me in a cool way.
Congratulations, Monty. My name is Corey Woods, Pistons
you.
beat writer at 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡. You talked about how you felt after your situation with Phoenix, and then Monty gave you the call and gave you a little bit of confidence. How does it feel now for you to be taking over one of the NBA's storied franchises and leading the charge to restore it?
I mean, that would, we'd be here too long talking about that. I mean, when you think about the history of this organization, this city, as it relates to basketball, like, it's a storied franchise. I've gotten so many phone calls from guys who've played, text messages from guys who've played here. That's been really cool for them to say they're happy about me being here. I got a text call from Derek Coleman, and you know, I'm just glad DC likes me, because when you get a text from DC, you're not quite sure, you know. He was excited. Across the board, like different players historically who've played here. Chauncey was one of the first text messages I got. That meant a lot. So that should tell you about the players that have been here, what they feel about this team. And I want to, you know, I think Troy feels the same way. In fact, I know he does. Like, I want to have success here to the point where people think I'm from Detroit, the way that they think Dave Bing is from Detroit, even though he's from DC. You know, I want to have that kind of impact here. And like I said, I marry myself to the job. And I told the players this morning I'm going to give them everything I have, because it has been a franchise that has a rich history. And that's something that's important to me.
Jamal Collier from ESPN. Monty, congrats and welcome. My question is for Troy and Tom, though. You know, you hire a coach that's been to the finals, that it has the track record that Monty has. Do you view this as a signal or a message that, you know, you guys are ready to win, ready to start competing at a higher level with this team? Or sort of what do you think a hire like this can do to sort of help accelerate that in the win column as far as going forward?
Well, Monty is Monty. So the thing, first, the roster is much better than what it was, right? And we had to clean up a lot of things. And then Monty is Monty. He has this amazing balance to have structure and strength and all of these things. He threads the needle. But then, as he said, he's emotional. He doesn't mind getting to know the players and live life with them. And if you really kind of look at what we've done, and Monty, thank you for all the nice words for both of us, but we really also figured out with Monty, and I didn't know you were going to share what you shared, how life and basketball are compatible, and they should be. I mean, we do this for a living, we're in basketball, but life is ultimately a little bigger than basketball. In our ability, I think, together, being compatible about that, I appreciate and respected what Monty was going through, and I don't think there's any reason that life and basketball can't be compatible. So I think that Monty's a great leader for these young men, but he wants to win, and Troy and I discussed that. We think, we're capable of winning. And a lot of our young folks, and it's in our veterans as well, but our young folks have really improved. I mean, there's a ton of improvement that's happened over the last few years. So I think, we're safe. Troy, you can finish the answer there, but.
Yes. We're ready to take a step forward. We had a lot of injuries last year that derailed us and slowed us down. But no, we're ready to take a step forward, but that's no different than anything else. We're ready to go.
Okay, who's next? Bob, go ahead.
Bob Wanowski from the Detroit News. Welcome, Monty. You've been as high as you can get, short of winning the NBA championship. You've taken over rebuilding teams before. What made you want to, in a sense, start over again and with another rebuilding team? I know it's not called rebuilding, but a team with the worst record in the league. What made you want to take this on instead of just taking time off?
I mean, the quick answer is obviously Troy, the players, and the money. I mean, that's something that people don't talk about. They always say it wasn't the money. I always laugh at that. I think that's disrespectful. When somebody is that generous to pay me that kind of money, one, that should be applauded, and two, it should be talked about. All of us as head coaches could go coach in our hometowns, not travel as much and be home more and, have less stress. And so, yeah, it was those variables and more. I like those challenges. I like the process of building. I like seeing players get better. I like seeing a guy for the first time understand what it's like to navigate crunch time situations. That's a part of the process that I enjoy. There's a number of other things, but at the end of the day, this is a get to and not a got to. These jobs in the NBA as head coaches are privileges, and there's only 30 of them, and so I've always looked at it that way. And so that we could go on and on about the blessings that go with these positions, whether it's taking over a contending team or a team that's on the rise. I don't think I've ever lost sight of the fact that I'm blessed to do what I get to do.
Terrific. Vinny?
Hey, Monty, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports, welcome. Along the same lines as what Bob asked, your name was mentioned for Philadelphia, Milwaukee, teams that have championship aspirations. Along those same lines, how long did it take you to unmarry yourself from the Phoenix experience because of the way that thing ended?
I mean, to be straight, I don't think you do that right away. You just have to have the fortitude to move forward. I'll always look at that as a special place in my history as a coach and as a person. Before I went to Phoenix, I was viewed a certain way. That experience has allowed for me to be here. And so for me to sit here and say that I've moved on, that's just not the case. I love those people there. I'm grateful for what they did for me and my family. When you get fired, it doesn't mean it has to be contentious or there has to be silliness that goes with that. I don't believe that. And yet, when somebody shows this kind of confidence in you, it gives you confidence to move forward with them in a cool way. That doesn't mean I have to diminish that situation or that organization. And so for me, whether it's getting drafted by the Knicks and playing for the Spurs and whatever capacity I played or coached in, I think all of those places are a part of your journey. You don't have to divorce yourself emotionally, even though you move on with a different team.
Go ahead, Vince.
Welcome, Monty, to Detroit. Vince Silas. My question for you is, Tom mentioned that you met with Troy and him at his home in California. Was there anything specifically about that meeting with those two gentlemen that made you think, okay, yeah, this is the place for me?
I mean, that night was a cool night just because I was in an airport or on the highway headed to an airport the day before, and the next thing you know, I'm on a private jet headed to LA to talk about another job, and then I get there and we just kind of talked. We talked about the vision of the team. We talked about who we all are as people. Mr. Gores gave me a tour of his house, and we just talked as fathers, as husbands, as members of our family. And that gave me an ease about him, that we could relate to each other on that level. His son had a breed of dog that I was really familiar with, and so I was educating him on that breed of dog. That was pretty cool. And then we just got back to the table and we sat and talked with my agent Spencer, and it was just one of those nights that allowed for us to be real about where we all wanted to go. And to be honest with you, I committed that night. I told them, if everything worked out with my wife, that this was the place that I wanted to be a part of, be in, talking about the players, to a man. Troy went down the list of players, and I've asked around the league for someone to tell me something squirrely about our guys, just so I know, and I can't find anything. This is one of those rare situations that I'm walking into a locker room where I feel like I have a great group of guys that just want to get better. And we talked about that that night, and that was it. It wasn't anything special about that night. We ate, we talked. We referenced Coach Dungy a couple of times. He's a hero of mine. But it was just a normal conversation, but just listening to them and their passion for the team, these players, and this city made me want to be a part of it.
Go ahead.
Sean Winter with the Detroit Free Press. Welcome, Monty. I'm curious about the players. When you look at them, what do you see basketball-wise?
The thing, you see the talent for sure. You see the size. When I talk to them, they all look me in the eye, which is impressive. I text them and they get right back to me, which is rare in the NBA, and you see it today. I don't think I've ever seen a press conference for a head coach and all the players show up. That's what I see, a hunger, a desire. They all want it. It really gets to you when you think about it. And so I could go on and on about what I've seen on film. I also have talked to them about what we need. We need to do some things a lot better, and they've all been willing. They've all been receptive. That's something I've seen. And so I'm impacted by that. It's not, I can't say it's rare or not rare because I don't know every situation, but I know in my experience, if you're asking about similarities to Phoenix, that was what was similar. You know, those guys were hungry, they wanted it. I remember my first meeting with Devin Booker. He was like, "Coach, whatever you need, I'll do it." And that allowed for us to have the kind of success that we had there. Again, I want to do more. I want to do different. I want to make sure it's unique to this particular team. But yeah, I look at these guys, I see a lot that excites me.
Okay, who's next? Anyone?
Hi, Monty. Brandon Dent of Uber Sports. Can you speak to the relationship between you and Steven Silas and what you envision him being here, a part of the Pistons organization?
Yeah, I mean, Steven's, we all know he's a great coach. He had a situation in Houston that's a lot like this. He had a young team that he had to navigate and teach and go through some rough times. But the person that he is something that I've admired for a while. He and I have gotten to know each other over the years, and it's amazing how we kind of fell into him coming here, because I hadn't even thought about him being the lead assistant. And then as time progressed, and you know, I was talking to a few guys and they had other situations, and Spencer, my agent, and I were just going down the list, and we brought up Steven's name, and we thought he was going to go somewhere else. And so we called him and told him what we wanted to do and his position and what we thought it would look like. And he didn't tell me right away. He told Spencer that it had him thinking and basically messed him up. And instead of going to the other place, he decided to come here because, like me, he believed in what Troy had told me, the generosity of Mr. Gores and the players that we have on the roster. He didn't even know about all of the other variables that you see and feel when you walk in this building. He hasn't experienced that yet, but he's going to be the lead assistant. He's been a head coach. I think he's someone that will call me up when I get off track. I think he's somebody that can relate to the loneliness of the head coaching position, and so he'll be somebody that I lean on for a lot, along with the other members on the staff.
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, Detroit News again. Monty, I know coaches don't like to be put in boxes and what they believe in and what their staples are, but what does a Monty Williams team do best, do you think? What are the things that you stress more than anything?
Compete. That's something that I've always felt like gives you a chance to be good on both ends and even in transition. The ability to compete every possession, which is hard to do, but the ability to sustain a high level of competition allows for you to have, or at least approach, success. I think Alonzo Mourning said, hard work doesn't guarantee success, but without it, you got no shot. And that's had a huge impact on me from an athletic standpoint. My family members taught me that early on, watching my mother work 8 to 10 hours a day and then go to school 3 or 4 hours at night. That's competing. That's something that I feel like gives you a chance to pull a game out or make a team quit. And we call it the wear down effect. But that's something that, if you look at the teams that I've been a part of, that's probably the number one thing that we try to do, is have a team that competes every single night.
Okay, any others? If not, I think we'll pause there. I'm going to ask at the end here, Tom and Troy, if you have anything you want to conclude on. But before that, just again, quick bit of housekeeping. I need everybody to give us 2 minutes on the dais to take a couple of photos of the group on the dais here. And then I know some of you want stand-ups and some other things. We'll facilitate that as we can. But Tom, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
I mean, look, we're very grateful, Monty, to have you. And the thing about Monty, obviously he's very proven and so on, but, you know, Monty's hungry also. Like he's not resting on his laurels. We discussed that. He's got a lot to prove. and just feel very fortunate to have Monty on board. We got a lot of work to do. You guys know we got a lot of work to do, but I think it's an exciting time for us and a big win. Troy?
Yeah, I think I have to interject this. A big part of this day happening is because of the thoughtfulness and the heart that Tom has. For 5 days, George kind of refereed Tom and I, and like it was just a moment where, you know, he just really poured out his thoughtfulness and his heart into this day happening, because he believed that if you put your heart into something and you make people understand things a different way, you can get a different result. And that's why we're here. We got a different result. His no became a yes because of Tom's thoughtfulness and put his heart into this, and made me and Mark and Arn and George and the rest of us see things a different way. And we're grateful and thankful for that. That doesn't easily happen. People don't come out of the box and think out of the box and put people's families and first. You know, a lot of people talk about our family first, but no, Tom really stepped up that way and made sure that we were thoughtful. And it really was a proud moment for me to be part of the Pistons. So can't thank Tom enough for that, and we're here today because of that. Spencer was huge in bringing this together, and you know, his relationship with Arn, but more importantly, when we got on the phone with him, the way he handled the situation in such a first-class manner with his heart as well, being not only Monty's agent but a friend, was another reason we were able to get here. So just grateful for this day, because a lot of people put their time and their talent into this, and that's how these things come about. So exciting day. Looking forward to the work that comes after this. But everybody's put a lot of time and hard work, so we're grateful and thankful.
Terrific. Thank you, Troy. With that, let me wrap up. Probably the best way to do it is to say, Monty, welcome to Detroit. Micah, Spencer, welcome to Detroit. It's the last time I'm going to say it, because before too long, everybody's going to think you're from Detroit, as you said. So we're happy to have you here. We're excited about what's ahead, and appreciate all the hard work that you all are going to do together in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Again, give us 2 minutes to take up a couple of photos here, and then we'll be available for stand-ups for those of you who need them. Thanks very much.